completely unique story. I mean, I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of people in the industry, but I don't think anyone has a unique story as you have. It definitely makes you distinct from the rest of I think the population making up travel. And I'm curious. I mean, you spoke about growing up. How did that impact your choice or your desire to get into hospitality? You described sort of working in hotels, things like that. I mean, what led to that decision?
There were a whole bunch of stuff. I would have to take you to my 22-year-old self.
Okay.
There was an awakening happening in South Africa in 94. So I had finished university, and South Africa has now come to a place where the status quo could no longer be defended. It was moving into a democracy. So there was this big awakening happening in the country.
There's a lot of tension, I assume. There's a lot of, here in the U.S. we speak about political differences all the time, but I imagine it was on a different level in that time in South Africa.
It was at a different level because so many people were disenfranchised. And there was this idea that with the changing of the guard will come all this access and opportunity to people who never had the chance to just good education, as an example. And that awakening really coincided with my self-identity and realization that I too had coming to grips with an awakening. And my awakening was that I was a gay man, right? It was a sexual orientation awakening. And there was this tug of war, it's for anyone who has lived the story will tell you there's a lot of anguish and a lot of stress that happens with the changing of any kind of change. And for me, it was interesting to join hospitality because it was the one industry where people of difference was actually embraced. And that sense of, flamboyancy was actually a good thing because it meant that not only were you more open to engaging and sharing of yourself, but it also was, in my view, at least at the time, it was also this idea that it was tied to a genuine sense of hospitality. So hospitality chose me as opposed to me choosing hospitality. It happened in a very roundabout way, very much to me joining the Travel Corporation and becoming the president of African Travel. At the time, I was working retail and I was responsible for public relations for the store. It was a retail store in South Africa. And over the intercom there were announcements made, and it was my voice. And there were in-store activities that would happen, and people would come in and we would engage them and give out prizes and all of those kind of stuff. In walks a general manager of a hotel across the street from the retail store. He tells me, "Do you like what you do? You should be in hotels. Here's my card, give me a call." And that's how I started. I started as a night manager in hotels, and it gave me access to people that were not born within the borders of South Africa, that were white, but were interested in me and my story. And I was just glad to share it.
Yeah.
So that's how I came about with hospitality.
That's incredible. That's such an incredible story. And it's so unique because, I've heard people...